morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm Dr. Kate Rogers, the Executive Director here at the Alamo Trust, and this is one of my very favorite days during Commemoration, so welcome. Today, we stand united in remembrance of the valiant men from Gonzales who, 189 years ago on March 6th, heeded the call of duty to bolster the Alamo's defenders at a critical juncture. We gather to celebrate their indomitable courage, their selfless act of sacrifice, and their profound dedication to the cause of Texas and its quest for independence. As we cast our minds back to those pivotal moments in history, we're reminded of the strength found in community and the enduring resilience of the human spirit. The Immortal 32, alongside their fellow defenders, faced insurmountable odds with a valor that not only defined the essence of heroism, but also lit the torch of hope in Texas for generations to come. This morning, it's our privilege to welcome several distinguished guests, among us including Mayor Steve Suker of Gonzales and the talented ensemble from the Gonzales Crystal Theater's Young Texians. Our gathering is further graced by the presence of descendants from those brave men who, in 1836, rallied to the Alamo's defense, embodying the timeless legacy of their ancestors' sacrifice. The story of the Immortal 32 is a poignant reminder that their sacrifices have been a guiding light throughout our proud history, inspiring us to unite in the face of adversity and to champion the principles of justice and freedom, no matter the odds. I would welcome up to the podium now our guest speaker for today, the Alamo's own Thomas Ledesma. Thomas is a researcher for our team here. His passion and knowledge of Texas history, coupled with his strong work ethic, have made him an integral part of the Alamo Trust team. He's a Rhode Island native, just like Albert Martin. This son of two veterans came to Texas in his youth and has been a proud resident of this garden spot of the world ever since. Like they say, he's not from here, but he got here just as soon as he could. Please welcome Thomas.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers, for that kind introduction. Before I get started, we would like to have the Young Texians come up and give a performance that they put together for today's festivities. Thank you.
From all you folk of Texas, wherever you may be, we'll tell you of some troubles this lad had chance to see. Our names are nothing extra, our tales are nothing new. The story of our heroes, Immortal 32.
Mr. King! Mr. King, a letter! A letter from the Alamo!
I am besieged by 1,000 or more under Santa Ana. I have sustained a continual bombardment and cannonade for 24 hours and have not lost a man. The enemy has demanded a surrender at discretion, otherwise the garrison would be put to the sword if the fort is taken. I have answered the demand with a cannon shot, and our flag still waves proudly from the walls. I will never surrender nor retreat. Then I call on you in the name of liberty, of patriotism, and of everything dear to the American character to come to our aid with all dispatch. The enemy is receiving reinforcements daily and will no doubt increase to 3,000 or 4,000 in 4 or 5 days. If this call is neglected, I am determined to sustain myself as long as possible and die like a soldier who never forgets what is dear to his own honor and that of his country, victory or death. William Barret Travis. Travis needs me.
Father, you're not leaving.
I have to go.
You can't leave.
There's no talking about it, Philip. I have to go.
How will Mother get on without you? What about the children?
If not me, then who?
I'll go.
Do you realize what you're asking? This is war. If anything were to happen to you, I'd never forgive myself.
heard the colonel's clamor for victory or death. You pled for reinforcements to fight to our last breath.
Dear Mom and Pop, I do not think I will be coming home. We made it to the Alamo in San Antonio, but it is much worse than we thought. They pound us day and night. They outnumber us 10 to 1. I see now when you did not let me go. I'm scared, but I will not run. I'm sorry if when I disrespected you, made you mad. I say this now because it is my last chance. I'm sorry. I love you all, and may God have mercy on our souls. May God have mercy on our souls.
Another round of applause for the young Texans here. It's my honor and privilege to speak with you today about the historical context of the events that happened this day during the Alamo siege of 1836. And it's also an honor and privilege that every day I get to work in this space and be a steward of the memory of these events. On February 24th, a dispatch was carried through the gates of the Alamo. That dispatch described the desperate situation faced by the garrison within this post. They were underfed, undersupplied, and undermanned. Though the situation was desperate, they remained determined to hold their position. There was something else that was contained within that dispatch. As Albert Martin made his way to Gonzales, his saddlebags contained a great hope. Hope that clear and powerful words contained within would stir others to action. Arriving in town, Martin would have described the situation faced by the garrison here. He had even quickly added his own plea for aid to the dispatch before it would be carried further east. Hearing this call for aid, a group of men mustered. They were the Texans and Americans that Travis had called out in his letter. Although 32 would pick up their guns and set aside their fears, when they set their mounts to the west, they faced a dark uncertainty. Who were these gallant individuals? Some were leaving behind businesses, farms, practices, schooling. All were leaving behind families. They ranged in age from seasoned adults to young youth. For instance, William P. King, who was 15 years old and had convinced his father to allow him to go in his stead. They were a group very much like you all gathered here today, a diverse group whose sense of patriotism coursed through their veins like the waters along the Guadalupe, determined by a sense of duty as deeply rooted as the mighty live oaks that dotted the rolling plains around their homes. On March 1st, in the pre-dawn hours, they would enter the walls of the besieged fortress. Not only did they bring much-needed reinforcement, but they also brought hope. A hope that others would rally to the call for aid. They had ridden into a desperate situation and thus into immortality. I would like now to call upon those faithful men from Gonzales, the Immortal 32.
cleaned up.
And at this moment, I'd like to introduce, it's my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of Gonzales, Steve Super. Welcome, Mayor. Please remain seated. Gentlemen, if you would, please remove your cover for a moment of silence for the Immortal 32. I yield the balance of my speaking time to my special guest speaker, Mike Cox. Mike, would you please make your way to the podium? The city of Gonzales was invited in 2017 to organize a group of 32 volunteers to recreate this ceremony and event. The good people of the Alamo Trust were trying to place an emphasis on the families who were impacted by the events of 189 years ago. Not only the Immortal 32 and the men, but the women and the children and the entire communities. And I'm so proud of the way our fair town and community of Gonzales has responded to this invitation from the Alamo Trust, and we are deeply thankful and grateful for it. As I speak, there is a group of, they started out with 33 men and 3 ladies. They started marching from the Gonzales Memorial Museum at 2 a.m. yesterday morning with a 20 to 25 pound pack. It's called a ruck. This is the Project Grit Ruck. This is the 6th year that they've done this. They sent me a video. They're about maybe 5 or 6 miles out now. They sent me a video. They were 10 miles out. They did have 4 members that have tapped out, which means that they have 32 ruckers marching their way here. They'll be here about 1 o'clock. In our column of 32 today, we have representatives from the Sons of the Republic of Texas. We have about a half a dozen actual descendants of the Immortal 32. I would like to ask any descendants of the Immortal 32 that are in the audience today to stand, please. We have an Immortal 32 father and son team in the column. The other members of the column are our good friends, the Alamo Defenders.
who help us round out the number of 32. And then I also invite individuals representing people who've made significant contributions to the economic and civic welfare of our fair town of Gonzales. And they really enjoy being a part of this. This will be the third year I've been at the podium. I gave my speech 2 years ago. I only have one Immortal 32 speech in me. So I've recruited a guest speaker this year and last year. But what I do want to say to the Alamo Trust, to the people of Behar, to the people of Texas, and to freedom fighters anywhere in the world, we Gonzalians are eternally riding your way. Thank you. And now Mike Cox, historian for the former Texas Rangers Association. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is George Chester Kimball, a Yankee hatter from Jefferson County, Pennsylvania. I came to Coahuila, Tejas in the year of our Lord 1825 and settled in Gonzales. The older feller standing in front of you, Mr. Cox, has graciously agreed to forego his remarks that I may briefly use his body to address you from the impenetrable fog of long ago. Verily, I have been waiting 189 years for an occasion when I should be afforded a few moments to speak of the circumstances under which my fellow ranging men from Gonzales died valiantly upon these grounds. Words fail in expressing my relief to know that the men I fought alongside of at this old mission did not perish in vain, that their wives, children, and other family members we left behind did not suffer in their grief for naught. I see flags flying that I do not recognize, but I know that neither banner belongs to the oppressive national government we battled against in my time. Now, and forgive my astonishment at all else I behold around me. Men without hats, people of all colors walking around the plaza, ladies whose exposed ankles I blush to see, buildings that look almost as tall as the Alleghenies that arise in my distant home state, wagons drawn without horses, and machines soaring through the sky like birds. And most puzzling, almost everyone seems to be intently staring at or talking to a small, dark, rectangular object clutched in their hand. So, of a certainty, I see that the cartwheels of time and industry have continued to roll forward since my men and I took our eternal leave. All about me are signs of peace and abundance. While I'm able to speak to you, which will not be very long, I must lay to rest two reprehensible notions being spread by some modern students of that great Greek historian Herodotus. First, my fellow Gonzales men and I did not perish because we held a desire to perpetuate the institution of slavery, nor did we sell our lives in the greedy pursuit of land speculation. Our blood soaked into this ground in the name of personal freedom. We who died in defense of Behar and Tejas breathed our last knowing that we were fighting to overthrow an oppressive government led by a dictator who would stop at nothing to govern not as the people desired, but in a manner in which pleased him. He and his army stood as a clear and present threat to our property, our way of life, and our very existence. Though my men and I died on that early morning of March 6, 1836, our just cause prevailed. But freedom, once achieved, is not guaranteed to endure. My good friend Sam Houston understood that. Sam was no god, and he definitely had feet of clay, but he knew and rigorously proclaimed that if left unchecked, what your generation refers to as divisiveness leads to a very dark place. The general saw differences of political opinion expressed with ever-growing animosity as the road to the dissolution of all that we and he fought for. He warned that such unchecked feelings would end in national disaster, civil war, and that's what happened. One faction cannot be allowed to vilify the beliefs of other groups. The people of Texas must remember that everyone has a right to their opinion and to do what they want as long as it's not against a just and reasonable law. The hero of Texas, as Sam liked to be called, had a saddlebag full of opinions and a plain but often colorful way of expressing them. In describing his political philosophy, he declared that he was, among other things, quote, opposed to taking the power from the hands of the people, opposed to special monopolies, opposed to a protective tariff, opposed to a latitudinal construction of the Constitution, opposed to slavery, and opposed to disunion. I implore you not to stifle the voices of people you may disagree with, to adhere to Houston's literal interpretation of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and to do the right thing, not as liberals, not as conservatives, but as Texans. May we meet again on the Electoral Lotto, the other side. Remember the Alamo, remember the Immortal 32, and hurrah for Texas.
Hurrah!
Thank you, Mike, for those words this morning, and thank you, Mayor Super, for being with us again. And thank you to everyone from Gonzales who made the journey to be with us. We look forward to welcoming the others later this afternoon. So we're 1 week into commemoration here at the Alamo. This is when we commemorate the 13 days of the siege and the activities that came. But as I mentioned earlier, this is always one of the highlights because the immortal men from Gonzales were the reinforcements that came upon Travis's plea for help. So we're grateful to them. The state of Texas is eternally grateful to them. As I mentioned earlier, I feel like this morning, this event represents the essence of community, and that's what Gonzales represents to us at the Alamo. So we thank you again for being here. I hope that you will all continue to enjoy the grounds. You'll probably notice there's a lot of things happening here at the Alamo. We are in the midst of a redevelopment effort. So in a couple of years, in 2027, the new visitor center and museum will open up just behind you, and it will tell the stories of the Immortal 32 and all of the Alamo defenders, along with all that happened before and all that happened after that legendary battle in 1836. So again, we thank you for being here. God bless you, and God bless Texas.